Hi, Tam.
Hey, how are you? It's good. It's
I'm,
always good to see you.
it's so good to see you. And I should have asked before we even started, do you prefer that I introduce you as Tam or as Tamara?
Yes, that's been a new claim of mine. I think now since I've exited corporate, anyone says Tamara, it feels too
This little
formal. Like I'm in trouble.
PTSD.
Yeah, yeah. I'm expecting them like, wait, what did I do wrong? So
Okay, so
yeah,
Tam it is. We're good
Tam.
with Tam. I love it.
Right.
Okay. I remember that. Well, yeah, my whole life, no one ever called me Kristen
Yeah.
ever. It was like K or KK
hmm
or my last name, my maiden name, Crawford. So, yes, when I entered the workforce and people started calling me Kristen, I was like, what?
I know. I know. Yeah. I confuse like I still in my email signature. I have Tamara and like formal documents and that kind of thing. I'll put Tamara, but
Sure.
in terms of more a Tam than a Tamara
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
I feel that. I feel that from you. Well, thank you so much for being here. Tam and I met through Rayland Logan,
Mhm.
who has also been on the show. She's probably been on yours too. Yes? Yes,
Yes.
maybe? Okay.
Yes.
We're all just on each other's
Yeah.
shows at this
Just
point.
great connector of amazing women. So I feel very flattered to be here chatting with you and to be in your network. Yeah.
Well, it's just the best. I feel the same. I think I like to say that this is a product of when LinkedIn works. It
Mhm.
is, the
LinkedIn for
reason
good.
why. Yes, it's like, and I get it because there's so much tension between how frustrating the platform can be or, where is it going and the algorithm and all the rest of it. But
Yeah.
ultimately, Raylan and I met because of
Mhm.
the platform. And
Yep.
that's led me to relationships with women like you and so many
Yes.
other incredible folks that I would have never, ever known. And so I feel like for anybody that's on the fence about it, I get it.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you're interested in true community building, there are ways, I
Yes.
think, to go about it that allow for this, which is pretty amazing, actually.
Absolutely. And I had largely, really until the last year, ignored it. Most of the
Mm,
that I were working with were so focused on other platforms. And from my, corporate experience, still in my mind, it was a kind of a glorified resume holder. And
yeah.
for just recruiters. And last year, putting more attention on it. It is, when used well, is such a rich platform.
Yes, I agree with that. So, Tam, as you might already be able to tell, is somebody that you just immediately feel comfortable with. She's so much fun, has such great energy. And I was just so excited to get to know her more. And I'm excited for you to get to share some of your story here. I
Yeah.
think um, we
Feeling
started chatting.
comfortable, by the way.
Well, thank you. We could have chatted for hours before this, but I had to eventually hit record. So here we are. In our conversation late last year, we got into all kinds of great stuff that I'm sure, we'll touch on today. In fact, I have a quote that I'm going to throw back at you that I
Oh,
haven't shared with you yet. But it really hit me and I wrote it down because it was something I wanted to sit with for a little while. And I think as I was kind of reading through some of what you've shared and
mhm,
listening to you and about your work, it kind of feels like a through line through some of it.
mhm.
And I'm curious if it will resonate. But I think I'd like to start with just let's get a quick intro on the work that you're focused on today. She is the founder of Studio 349 Sales Marketing. She's the host of the podcast Sales for Service and is just all around badass sales growth strategist. But I think I'd like to start with the studio, which you founded, I think, close to 6 years ago
Yeah,
now, if I'm
2020,
right on
product
the
of COVID.
timing.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's start with what's the focus of that work?
Yeah.
And maybe with that, what drew you to entrepreneurship in the first place?
I think I had always wanted my own business. I
Mm,
think I just like it was kind of hardwired, and modeled my father, who the business is named after, that Studio 349. He was born in September of 34. So
oh,
yeah,
amazing.
so he was, I grew up in that environment where he was an entrepreneur. And so that was modeled for me. So I think that was some of the early influence.
Mm,
And I would love to have said, I would love to believe that it didn't take a global pandemic and family health crisis. He was having some health challenges independent of COVID about that time. I would love to believe that it, didn't take major life events like that for me to start a business, but that's how it happened. I needed something that wasn't location specific. I had exited corporate. My position was actually eliminated from previous role, and then had just started a new opportunity when everything escalated with COVID, and that, was eliminated because it was an in-person role. And I was, still in the first 30, 60 days, and it just made sense with things happening at home. So left there and needed something, wasn't location specific, and had literally was sitting in the hospital with my dad, Googling how to make money working from home. And
wow.
virtual assistant came up, and I was fortunate. I had a little bit of a runway with my corporate exit. Did I need to go back to work? Yes. In that moment, it was really kind of mental health more than anything.
Yes.
But that's how the business started. In the climate of COVID, I was not even familiar with that term. All of the talent that I had worked with and hired had been payroll, and I just had not had a lot of experience with contract positions opportunities to know that virtual assistance was the thing. All the work I was getting in the climate of COVID, and with my background being sales, marketing, business development, all of the work I was getting was marketing, because businesses that either didn't have or hadn't been paying attention to their online presence were freaking out.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, no kidding.
I joked I was the oldest social media manager you'd ever meet. But I relaunched the business. Well, I shouldn't say relaunched. I formally launched the business in 2022 to focus on. When I say that, it was I graduated from my DIY website to something that someone that actually knew what they were doing put together.
Oh, I haven't even graduated to that yet. So congratulations.
You look great. You're
okay.
Yeah. So to focus just on digital marketing. And then about a year ago, I am very open and honest. I was miserable. I had said yes to everything. I was on the fast track to burnout. I was doing what I could do, but really not what I wanted to be doing. And I had started working with the business coach, which I, anyone listening, Kristen, you and I were chatting beforehand. That's the one thing I would do different now, is I would have raised my hand and asked for help sooner in this journey. But she was the one that said, after kind of our first day talking together, she said, unless you're committed to trying to build out this digital marketing agency, it sounds like you really want to be doing something in sales and business development. And I started laughing, and I said, well, I can find the business if I could just free myself up to find the business. And she said, Tam, that's a business. And I think I just been all these years looking outside of myself, thinking it had to be some external product or service. And I had really been not valuing my skill. And frankly, I've said I'm coming out of that thinking that success equals suffering. And if something isn't hard, it doesn't have value. And I really had neglected, sales is really, my word for, I love helping people, creating opportunity, connecting people and creating opportunity. And I think because I find joy and flow in that, I ignored it, thinking that no one's going to pay me to do that because I'm having too much fun.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
But long answer to your question, that's kind of how I arrived there. And that's really, my heart is to serve and solve, and in helping people that aren't as comfortable, or it doesn't feel like a natural, well, I shouldn't say, I think we're all salespeople. We all are having some kind of a sales conversation in life and relationships every day. Yeah. But I think the way it has been portrayed, you avoid it, don't do it, you don't want to be that, gross salesperson. But when you really view it from the mindset of just serving and solving, it's a different experience. So that's how I landed this version of the business. I think I'm in 3.1, 3.2 now. Yeah. So, I said, I finally figured out what I want to be when I grow up.
Good for you.
At least
Listen,
this week.
Yeah. I think this is why so much of our story has some similarities or some parallels. Yeah. And I think that there's everything you say, I'm nodding. So, so much, because I think it is interesting when you start something on your own. I think there might be a misconception that, well, you have to know exactly what the thing is in order to get going. And I did not do that. I started without having any real super clear vision, which is maybe sounds reckless, but I do think no matter what, even if you start something, it will eventually evolve in some way, shape, or form. And to allow yourself to iterate, and to allow yourself to say, okay, wait a second, maybe this thing that I was focused on is not actually the thing that I'm meant to be doing, is actually, it sounds very simple. Yes, it's simple. I think Mel Robbins says this. It's simple, but it's hard. Like it sounds really straightforward, but there's a lot that's happening under the surface with all of that. The questions you're asking yourself, right?
I didn't understand that. This is the first thing. I mean, I'm probably from the outside in, people see me and think, oh, she's this big risk taker. But they have no idea how calculated whatever quote unquote risk I've taken to this point in my life have been, because it's all been very much like before I stepped out. I mean, this is prior to my entrepreneur experience. Any step I took was always very calculated. It was always very measured. Like I knew that my chances of, and I'm not proud of that. I would love to go back if I had allowed myself to make more mistakes and mess up more. Because I think now I know that's where the real growth happens. But up until the last 5 years, any risk I took, I had a pretty strong bet on myself that I'm going to be able to make this work.
I got this. Yeah.
This was complete it was I have no other choice in this moment. Like I
have to make it work.
I have to make it work, and stepping out there without any clear vision of what this was going to become. And it's so counterintuitive, but it's the hardest part is just getting started.
Yeah.
Because the path, not to get all woo, but it really does reveal itself with that.
I'm dying right now because I don't know if I shared this with you, but I did the 13 days of intention, like winter solstice into the new year. And so you burn every night one intention, and then you're left with the one that is for you to hold and tend to for that year.
Oh, I love that.
And mine, I'm not kidding. This is on my computer right now as I sit here. And it's my life is palms up, allowing life to organically reveal itself to me.
I love that so much.
You are once again just saying all the words that I feel. It's so, I've been thinking about this so much lately, this quote unquote woo versus what it means to be in strategy work or do the hard work or build a business. It's like these two things can feel at times like they are in conflict. And that's been actually, I think, what I've been grappling with the most over the last few years as I build my business. And I don't think I knew that was such an inner conflict for me, which is I do believe in these things. Like I have said these words out loud over the years, but when it comes to building for myself, that is really hard to do. Really, really hard to do.
And was not prepared for that. Moving into focusing on sales and business development now, and doing that for someone else, I was very confident. And I'll say I was really good at it. Doing it for myself is a completely different experience. Representing yourself and your work. And it is a daily practice to separate yourself from the work and understand that it's two different things. Because I was really struggling had too much of my personalizing the no and personalizing when things didn't go my way. And, and that's been I'm trying to give myself some grace that I don't know that I'm ever going to solve that. I just have to get up every day with the intention to remember that I am not my work. My self-worth is not measured by my work. I really struggle with that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, listen, that was the free fall that I was in.
Yeah.
That summer of 23 when the company I worked for imploded. I had no idea just how much my identity was wrapped up in the title and the position and the productivity and the things. And I grappled for a while with, that doesn't mean that those things, striving for those things is wrong, right? Like I think that can also be a conflict of like wanting to be ambitious and wanting to get into that, like whatever office that allows you to have influence. That's not wrong.
Right.
At all. But I do feel like there needs to be an intention behind the why of it. And I was really missing that. I was just really striving for whatever the next big thing was without any question as to why. It was just like, well, that's what you do. You keep pushing and you keep moving up and you keep getting the next thing. And then you keep until one day you go, wait a second, like my life doesn't feel any different than it did 5 years ago. There's nothing dramatic that has changed other than now I work all the time. Like that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel great. I mean, it does in some ways because of the dopamine or whatever, but in the real soul of it all, it's like, that doesn't. So it is, yes, okay, strive for those things, but know the reason behind the striving. And I think, because I think then you're never, ever, not that there's ever a final destination, but I think that it's just then you're constantly trying to fill in for something that's not fillable because you're never going to get there,
Right. Yeah. So you keep moving the goalposts,
Yes.
I realize, I think that's something I'm trying to learn, just to be more present in the moment I'm in, and to, there's a book, The Gap and the Gain. Like,
I think I've heard about this, but I don't know it. Yes.
When you measure yourself, like as far as the gap from where you're trying to get to versus, I'm paraphrasing, but you keep moving the goalposts, and it's always like, you're always going to feel like you're coming up short. Whereas if you stop and look back to where you came from to see how far you've come and celebrate more of what you've accomplished versus what you haven't, it's a much more rewarding space to live in.
Yes.
We don't give ourselves enough of a, I think particularly as women, enough of a pat on the back for what we have accomplished versus what we haven't.
Yes. No, 100. In fact, actually, so we were talking about this before, but Tam and I we have a little slot in our friends event that's coming up this weekend. And that I actually talk about that in part of what I share, which is, if you don't reflect at least every once in a while on what you've already done, and you will be literally shocked when you actually get into this practice. Because I now do this quarterly where I reflect on what's happened over the last 90 days. And it will blow your mind. You're like, oh my God, like I've done that and I did that. And oh my God, I did this. And it's not just the work stuff. It's, I shuttled my kids back and forth 45 times and I went to this event and I did this thing for my mom, whatever. All of those things are what make our life, but we're not tracking those things because we're just moving through it. Right. So if you don't take the space, then that goalpost will never, it just gets further and further out.
I guess for our ambition, that's kind of the ugly side of ambition, is that goalpost keeps moving. And
yes. I love what you said too. I'm glad that you brought up working with a coach, because I have now determined that this was the best kept secret that I never knew about when I was in corporate. Was everybody, once I got out of it and then went into a coaching program, everybody I talked to was like, oh yeah, I have a coach, or like, I work with a coach. I'm like, what the hell? Why didn't anybody tell me that everyone is working with a coach? Like, no, like, what is that? And one of my dear friends, she was like, because at first I was like, is it kind of weird? I don't really know this world. And she's like, listen, when your car is broken, you go to a mechanic to get it fixed. When you want to get healthy or fit, you go to the gym and you work with a trainer. What's the difference in working with a coach if you're dealing with your career or your business? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Why? Like, we think you think you're already supposed to know. Like, I should have had, like, why don't I already know this? Well, because you have never had that experience. You haven't done this before.
No. And it's really, I love also what you shared around allowing and her helping you see that your natural strengths and your talents can be what you do. I think this is the human condition. It is so impossible to see what our natural talents are. It's really, really easy to convince ourselves that we're great at many different things, but to actually allow ourselves to say, no, this can be part of what I'm building. That is a really, because we take it for granted. You just are, this is literally innately who you are. So to consider it as something that you could be building a business around, or at least let it inform or help shape the business that you're building, or even the career you're chasing, or the promotion you want, whatever the case is, that I don't know if you ever did any of the like DISC assessments or the strength finders or the, whatever. And I really need to be a spokesperson for Clifton Strengths at this point, because that one for me really blew my mind. And it showed me literally this last calendar year, the elements that I had totally ignored. And I was building a business in a totally different area. Like I was building kind of what you were just saying, like you saw an opportunity and so you said, okay, I'm going to build this. But then to have a moment of recognition, it's not a moment, it takes time. This moment is a long moment of like, and unpacking it all. But to then allow yourself to see that how has that now informed what you're excited about now? What is the focus of the studio as you move into this year? And what are you most excited about?
Yeah. I really appreciate you. We're kind of hitting on the same thing. It's like for anybody out there listening to this thinks they have to have it figured out. No, it really is just taking the step to get started and know that you figure it out along the way. First iterations of the business was I have a servant's heart. If I can solve a problem or help someone, I want to do it. And I'm kind of that, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
My attitude, I think it was just kind of my corporate attitude is, and I feel very fortunate for the leaders that I worked with, regardless of what your business card said, we were all had the same goal, trying to move the same direction. So I could do something to support somebody in that. I either knew how to do it or I could figure it out. But I think now having gone through this iteration of the business, having kind of come full circle back to sales and business development, I'm really excited about creating opportunity and helping people create opportunity and build. I like building things. The first time I had an inkling of what I thought I might want to do with my life, I thought I wanted to be an architect. And I feel like I'm building, but I'm just building businesses and relationships. I went to a 2-week summer immersive program, and it was I'm a very collaborative creative. I like working in community with people, and all that work that summer was like super independent. And it was
you're like
5-year program. And I'm like, I'm going to go nuts year 2. So I was like, no, this is not going to work for me. But I think I've tried a lot of things up to this point in the business. And I finally have at a spot in the business where I feel like I know the problem I'm solving. I've got a great team behind me to support that. And I think I tried to do all the things in the beginning, and now I have this, okay, here's the 1 or 2 things I just want to just do repeatedly and get really, 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 really good at something. I think that's what was missing for me when I was so miserable about a year ago, was doing a lot of stuff, what felt really not 100%. And now I feel like I've got a really clear focus and just want to get the reps in to get really good at it. And to be able to help. By getting more focused, I can help more people and have more impact. That's what I'm really excited about in this
love that
next version of the business. Yeah.
I love it. I feel like there's so many interesting things to pull out of what you just shared. But one is that I think, and you hear this all the time, but I think it's so true that in entrepreneurship, you have to be willing to play the long game, because those early years really are, I think, meant for this, which is you can be making money. I did really, really well on paper on my first year in business, but like very similarly, I was not being intentional about what I was building. I was just pulling in projects. And again, I had to do that in order to make a living and to survive. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it allows you then to actually look at, okay, where am I actually serving people best? Where am I maybe not serving people as well as I could be? Where are my strengths shining through? Where are they just totally falling flat? And it's a really important phase, I think, of the entrepreneurial journey, because you are forcing yourself to kind of figure yourself out in that. And there's, I don't know that I've ever heard of anybody recently anyways, that's gotten around that, like has been able to shortcut like first year or 2 or even longer. And so if that doesn't feel comfortable, it is real miserable.
It's been the most significant period of, just separate the business part of it, the most significant period of personal growth in my life. And I've joked, and I may have said this to you, it's like, save your therapy bill, just start a business. It brings all of that, just fear, insecurity, whatever it is, all of that stuff to the surface. And it's really forced me to look at head on and work through some of that stuff as I'm building the business and figuring it out. And it's a figuring out. I think forever it'll be a figuring out.
Forever. I know. And that's kind of the fun part though, too. I think I was saying this with someone yesterday. It's like, you never get to do it the first time again. The first time you do anything, there can be, it's a woman I interviewed, actually. She's a filmmaker, and she had her first film shown at a film festival in Berlin years ago. was like, oh my God, that must have just been this like mind blowing. She was like, it was awful. It was terrifying. And it was the best thing ever, but what an incredible thing to have that be the first of something for you that
Yeah.
you don't ever get to do. You get to do that again, but it's kind of a different, because then you now kind of know what to expect. Like you're walking into the room, you understand the thing, like it's in hindsight, it's easy to say this. In it feels horrible. Like those early stages, you're like, get me out of here. But now that I'm looking back at the beginning of my own journey, I'm like, oh, there's some real beautiful moments there where you go, I'll never get to do that for the first time again. It will always be an iterative process.
Yeah.
So what were those early dipping your toes into the career waters? Like what did end up drawing you in? I asked that question, which is funny because as I was thinking about it, nothing was drawing me in those days. I was just like, I don't know, I got to get a job. But was there anything early days for you that was calling to you or kind of pulled you to where you landed?
If you look at my resume has been all over the place, and I can look back and see a thread.
Line.
All of that experience has prepared me for entrepreneurship. I thought early on that I wanted to go into some end of television and film, and ended up working in broadcast production, and then got into experiential marketing on the agency side. Then we were doing meetings and events, trade shows, print, video production, basically whatever the message the client was trying to deliver and whoever the audience was, we packaged it in whatever vehicle made sense. But I have a history of get in for a couple of years, learn something, get bored and get out. And so it was like 2 years of broadcast, 2 years of experiential marketing, then spent my formal sales career, believe it or not, was in retail sales, luxury retail for Neiman Marcus.
Ooh. Cool.
And I landed there because the joke thing, when we would get frustrated on projects when I was still with the marketing agency, everybody had their joke thing. They said they were just going to quit and go do. And mine was, I was going to go be a makeup artist because I had this vision. I wanted to travel the world, live out of a suitcase and be a makeup artist. And so the cosmetic retail was a paycheck while I figured that out. And really, I guess my first toe into entrepreneurship because I had my own business on the side doing wedding special events, some production. But that to this day is the best. That was my formal sales training because I know cosmetics, it sounds fun and fluffy. It was serious businthis, especially.
Oh, I can imagine. People are putting down some bank for that too. This is not
this has been many years ago, but that time, that department alone, this was in Dallas, Texas, was doing upwards of $27 million a year. That department. And
my God.
Every one of those counters in there, I was responsible at any given time for anywhere from like $300,000 to $3 million worth of revenue, just with my little area. And it was run like a business.
Oh, I can imagine.
That's where I learned. That was my first client facing role and where I really learned the fundamentals of sales. I said, I'll do this as long as I'm happy and having fun. But there was just kind of ran its course, and I ended up my first commission sales job for one of the Kohler brands. And that was kind of my first corporate sales job. But I love people, and I love, it really just, it comes down to, I like to serve and solve and help and support, and being able to do that in a, I can do this in a way and I get compensated for it. Oh, this is great.
Yes.
Yeah. And then realizing that nothing happens until something gets sold, and not everybody is as comfortable having those conversations. That, hey, if I can help folks change their mindset about what a sales conversation is, and to start proactively asking, creating the opportunities they want versus waiting for something to happen. I think that's the very action oriented.
Yeah.
So being able to support people that way.
I love that.
Very long answer to your question.
No. I'm listening. And then I keep coming back to, but did you get any awesome swag when you were working?
Yeah. The first time I had to pay for cosmetics after I left,
oh no.
This is robbery. Without my discount or I had,
I can't even imagine. I mean, I love a product. I am I'm not a big label person. I don't really care. I forget about the car, but you give me like a luxury face cream or something that's packaged beautifully or whatever, like all day long. I will just forget it. I'm a sucker.
I'm not, I mean, this is tell on me, but I mean, that is my splurge, ridiculous. I mean, even like, first job out of college, I was eating ramen and I had, $30 shampoo in my shower.
Yes. Don't take it away from me. It's the same. It's so real. There's one perfume, I don't even want to say how much I spend on it, but it is the one that I love. And there's like a couple others that sit there on my little, tray or whatever. And my daughter, who's 10, picked up the nice one the other day. She's like, Mom, this one's the best. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, please don't do this to yourself. Don't go down this road. We were talking too before we jumped on about, and you just shared it a moment ago, there is entrepreneurship and there's female entrepreneurship, and there is different things to contend with. And okay, here's where I throw your quote back at you because it's, I literally wrote it down because I thought it just put so simply, I think what so much of us walk through, which is women can tend to ask for permission instead of asking for what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, that sounds so simple, but when you really think about that and let it sit with you and you allow yourself to think about how that might show up in your own life. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not just in work and it's not just in entrepreneurship, it's in life. It's can I have this thing that likely, not that you're entitled to, but is likely inherently yours in some way.
Yeah.
And then to ask for that permission versus just claiming or just stating, this is a desire of mine, or this is what I want to see in the world. How does that inform? Because I know you mostly serve women.
Yeah.
How does that show up when you are especially looking at what it means to, I mean, I feel like sales, we talk about it in such a tactical way, but it's the same way as with money or wealth. Yeah. It is a psychological thing. There is something so human about it, and we bring so much of ourselves, and it's so tricky. How do you work with women on kind of grappling with that as they're thinking about owning the impact that they have?
I kind of arrived at that realization just through my own lived experience, and just my own kind of journey and learning. And it kind of goes back to, I don't know that I had an awareness of how that was showing up until I started selling my own work and my own business. And then over this course of the last year, all the conversations I've had with outrageously talented, accomplished, expert women that are still kind of, it's subtle, but just the dynamics of a business conversation and client engagement, sort of waiting for someone else to decide your value or someone else to decide that you're good enough. And I will never call myself a coach. Like, I'm not a coach. I don't have any, again, anything I share has just been through my own mistakes and learned experience. But so much of it is just the encouragement and support and conversation to take leadership in your own, that you are allowed as a business owner to take leadership in your own sales process. And when I say that, it's the client prospect, leading them. We're just educating folks to help them to make a decision, and that you're allowed to take leadership in that process. And I think one of the early practical examples where I see this show up more often than not is in a lot of our, and this is kind of tactical, but written communication. It's the subtle difference between when you're trying to get follow-up conversation on the calendar. It's kind of this apologetic, letting someone else decide. Let me know when you have time, or let me know if this works for you, instead of being able to take leadership to say, hey, I've got availability on this date and this date. What works best for you? It really kind of shows up in the working relationship with my clients where, I still do it myself. Like I can spot it and see it and coach my clients and folks through it. I still do it myself, but it's just having that awareness to be able to catch yourself when you do it. And what we were sharing before we started recording, it's just our own, depending on the culture and background and what you grew up in. I mean, just my own conditioning, being a girl raised in the South, that you just don't want to be perceived as pushy or greedy but you're not being a greedy, pushy, bad person taking leadership in your own business and taking leadership in the dynamic with your client and prospect and leading them to a decision in a professional, respectful, helpful way.
Yeah, that's so, I mean, it's interesting. I think you've shared some of this and some of what first of all, I think the best teachers are the ones that are either living through or have lived through or understand some reality of the people that they're teaching, right? That is what makes you so great at what you do, is you have this incredible history and background, but you also are walking through what it means now to hold yourself accountable to the things that you also want to share with your clients. And I think that is invaluable. You've shared a bit in some of your writing to this idea of founders kind of being done waiting to get picked. This idea that if I just do a good job and if I just sit over here and if I work the hardest, that eventually they'll get tapped on the shoulder, which I think is also a product of corporate whatever, right? If you show up a half hour early and you show up, you don't leave till a half hour after minimum, and you raise your hand for every GD thing that comes through, whatever, to shift that mindset, I think, as you move into foundership is really, really hard, because it can feel like, well, the work should speak for itself. And if I do a good enough job, then people will know. It doesn't work like that ever. So do you feel like, are you seeing underneath that waiting fear of rejection, lack of clarity, something else totally, or a combination of all of the things? What do you think are some of the themes that you've noticed for women in particular?
Largely that fear of rejection and being told no. And like we were talking about, just that so much of our, or at least I speak for myself, so much of my self-worth has been tied up in my work. And that when you hear no, or you get that, I'm not saying it ever feels good. But understanding that it is not a no to you as a human and individual, and it's not a statement of the quality of the work that you do, or that you're not going to be successful in business because someone told you. It's just part of the process.
Totally.
It is that fear of rejection. And I can encourage, it's just, again, take the action to understand, again, that it's separate your self-worth from the work and know that it's part of the process, and that the more you do it, like, I never like being told no, but I also know that at least then and it frees you up for the yes. Like, statistically, I think you have to, like, I've forgotten what the math on it, but I read
it's something crazy.
You have to hear yes. So it's like, hey, celebrate the no's, because great, you got your quota in.
You're getting closer to the yes. That's right. Yes, I know. It's like with anything we were saying earlier, you just have to keep doing it. And the more we were sharing this with each other about our podcasts, when we first started this whole endeavor, it was like the cringiest, most difficult, and I want to hear about that too before we wrap. And same with engaging on LinkedIn. When I first started to think about understanding what I wanted to say, or if I had a point of view, or, whatever, you have to go through those like fumbly, bumbly, weird first moments.
Yeah.
But I truly believe this, and I can only say it now because I've done it enough times. With any of those things, it just gets easier and easier. It may not ever be the most comfortable thing ever. And no, of course, no one likes rejection. But I actually laughed at when I looked at last year, how many no's, because I wrote them all down because I wanted to make sure I was tracking, not from a numbers perspective, but just like, okay, same as when you look back at your quarter and go, okay, I've done a lot of work. Yeah, that's a lot of work also to send out a proposal and to do the thing and to be in conversation. And when you really look at it too, so many of the times it was either it wasn't the right timing or the it's never, to your point, a personal, like, I don't like you as a human.
Right.
But that's so hard to to remind yourself of that all the time. I knew this was going to happen. We're going to run out of time. And I still want to talk about two things. One is, tell us briefly about your show. What's the main story that you're focused on telling?
Yeah. It's Sales to Service podcast. And I will say, I did not start a podcast because I wanted a podcast. I did not realize just how important in our, the climate that we're in today, having a consistent digital presence is. I came with the luxury of a corporate background where we had great big corporate marketing department that you just take for granted, that you don't understand everything they've done to educate your prospective client, to build brand awareness, thought leadership, visibility, that by the time you have that sales conversation, they're more or less ready to go. They've got that know, like, and trust familiarity. You have something they want. And it's really just kind of let's decide it's not a matter of do they want what you have, it's when and what. making the shift to get on the other end of the conversation where I'm moving from where I was working in marketing for that visibility piece of it to now actually, okay, lead generation, client acquisition, conversion, and working with businesses that either, inconsistent at best or non-existent, how much harder the process is because so much of the conversation happens before someone ever engages with you. And I could not be advocating to my, people I'm working with how important it is if I'm not modeling that. So it was really my effort to lead by example. Like, I can't ask you to do something that I'm not doing. It has been, I go back to saying, save your therapy bill, start a business. And if you hit a plateau, start a podcast. But it really has been like the next best thing I've done to starting a business. And it was excruciating getting myself out of the gate. But I find there's kind of there's the mindset that people have around sales, like, ooh, because of the way they've been sold to, like, ooh, don't proactively go after opportunity. I'd rather just wait for somebody to find me. So to shift that mindset, to just talk through a lot of the, the things, conversations with people about separating our self-worth from the work and how that sabotages us sometimes, where we get so wrapped up that we don't want to ask because we don't want to be rejected. Yep. And then also, like, that you're allowed to go after what you want. You don't have to just be grateful for yes, I'm grateful for every opportunity, but building a business based on what someone's willing to give you versus being able to go out and find the opportunities you want. Like, you throw a dinner party, like, you're not going to just open your front door and be like, everybody come in. You might, if that's, but more often than not, it's going to be more of the setting of the table and about who you invite and the kind of experience you want to have. That's kind of the same thing around being able to proactively go after the business you want. You learn over time the people you enjoy working with, the kind of work that you're best at, that you can deliver, the people that you can deliver the best results for. So anyway, the show is really, with me, it was my own being visible and consistent, but then really for women in particular, I really hope that it is a platform that you can embrace the sales process and really master, become better at communicating your business. And then I'm very passionate about, another bad word, prospecting, but I'm very passionate about being able to create your own opportunity and ask for the work and getting people comfortable with that and doing more of that with in my own experience. I don't think there's such a thing as a sales expert. There's just people out there that have a lot of practice. I'm no expert. I just have gotten comfortable being uncomfortable and getting enough reps that I've, kind of, what is it, that exposure therapy? Just have a lot of practice. But anyway, that's what it's about. So
okay. And how long have you been doing it now? How long has it been?
Not a year. It just launched in March, and the second season, at the time, like real time recording this, the second season, the first episode just dropped yesterday. So, and good. We'll be doing it as long as people are willing to talk to me. So
listen, I feel the same way. I'm like, what on earth did I do to get lucky enough to say yes to myself to even start doing something like this? To your point, but then at some point I thought, oh gosh, am I going to have enough people, enough whatever? And now I have this long list of women that I'm like, oh my God, this could go on forever if people allow it.
Every conversation is a masterclass. I don't have it every day. Like, and I learned something, like, selfishly, it's as much for me as it is for the audience.
100%. No, I have so many amazing tidbits that I've pulled from so many of these conversations. Like, I just threw your quote back to you. The reason why we got to even have that was because I was asking you about coming on here. So it is a really beautiful, there is something really uniquely special, I think, about the community of women, the communities of women that are coming together more recently, that it is really about, and all of us are cheering each other on. Like, that's what's so cool about all of this that I have found, is I have not been a part of so many communities where everybody really is rooting for each other. It's like, I'm rooting for you, but I'm also kind of over here, like, maybe doing this with my elbow, and I'm also kind of like keeping myself out over here. That has not been my experience thus far. And I just feel genuinely grateful for that, because I think it's what we need in the world, especially right now. So I'm here for all of that.
Agree.
I want to give you space to ask or answer this last question because it is the last question I ask every woman on the show. And it is around the word legacy, which I know can hold a lot of weight for it. But I like to think of it more as not the thing that we're leaving behind, but the thing that we're actively building toward. And so as we contemplate all of the work that we've done to date and how we see our work impacting the world going forward, Tam, what does building a legacy mean to you?
I want to enable as many women as possible to say yes to themselves, whatever that looks like. And again, it kind of comes from my own lived experience to giving myself permission and saying yes to me, really being in a space to help as many women as possible to do that. I mean, female entrepreneurs, business owners, really any woman, but yeah, just the ability to say yes to us. We do such a great job of taking care of everyone and everything and everything but us, because sometimes we're the last on the totem pole, but it really is true that you got to put your own oxygen mask on first to be able to do a good job. And I'm just learning that. So I've been kind of late to the game on that. So
so many of us have, but I can't think of a better, more incredible human to be carrying that torch at this moment. So I'm so grateful to be in your universe, and I'm so grateful for this time. So thank you so much. And one of these days we're going to meet in person. I'm convinced of it.
Yep. Meet later this year. Like I'm counting on my invite to dinner.
Yes. I love it. So good to see you. Thank you again. Thank you. And we'll point people to all of the incredible work that you're doing in the post.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.